ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਪ੍ਰਿਆ। ਭਾਰਤ ਦੇ ਕੌਂਸਲੈਂਟ ਜਨਰਲ ਵੱਲੋਂ 1985 ਦੇ ਕਨਿਸ਼ਕ ਹਾਦਸੇ ਦੇ 40ਵੀਂ ਵਰ੍ਹੇਗੰਢ ਮੌਕੇ ਇੱਕ ਯਾਦਗਾਰੀ ਸ਼ਰਧਾਂਜਲੀ ਸਮਾਰੋਹ ਆਯੋਜਿਤ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ। ਇਸ ਘਟਨਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀਆਂ ਗਵਾ ਬੈਠੇ 329 ਨਿਰਦੋਸ਼ ਯਾਤਰੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਭਾਰਤੀ ਦੂਤਾਵਾਸ ਨੇ ਦੁੱਖ ਦੀ ਇਸ ਘੜੀ ਨੂੰ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਸਾਂਝਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ। ਸਮਾਰੋਹ ਦੇ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਮੋਮਬੱਤੀਆਂ ਜਲਾਈਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ, ਭਾਸ਼ਣ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਗਏ ਤੇ ਕਨਿਸ਼ਕ ਹਾਦਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਕ ਮੈਂਬਰਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਭਾਵਨਾਵਾਂ ਵਿਅਕਤ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਇਸ ਸਮਾਗਮ ਦੇ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਨਾ ਸਿਰਫ ਮਰੇ ਹੋਇਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਰਧਾਂਜਲੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ, ਬਲਕਿ ਅੱਤਵਾਦ ਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਜਾਗਰੂਕਤਾ ਅਤੇ ਹਵਾਈ ਯਾਤਰਾ ਸੁਰੱਖਿਆ ਵੱਲ ਵੀ ਸਖਤ ਸੰਦੇਸ਼ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਗਿਆ।
It was my mother. My mother was just 60-year-old and she just got retired from her work. She was a doctor from India. She got retired in 55. Now she wants to have a nice life. She just lived 5 years. And then now 85, in January, I was going to go to Libya because my husband was going there for work. So my mother on the airport, she cries so much. She hugged me and cried. I was thinking, when I was coming from India, she didn't cry that much. Now I'm just going for a while. Why is she crying this much? I didn't know. Within few months, she's going to die. And I will not be able to see. That was my last meet with my mother on Houston airport. She was hugging me and crying. And that's it. Then I got a news in Libya that Air India flight, my mother is in it. She was gone. She was gone. We are 4 sisters, 6 brothers. All her life, she was working, taking care of all her children, 10 children. When she died, it was 25 grandchildren when she was only 60-year-old. And we all miss her. Even my daughters, they were so young, they still cry for their grandmother. It was a big shock for all of us and is still, we didn't forget about her. It's a big shock.
It's a painful thing to see, and as a younger generation, it's the memorial service especially, and just for my generation to know about the Flight 182 is really important because nobody knows about it. And it should be in our education system, and it should be really well known to all the Indians out here in Canada especially. So that's what I think. It would be important for older generations, just like my mom brings me here every year since I was born, for those in her generation to do the same for their kids. And even I bring my cousins and everybody else, and I tell my friends and family about it, and everybody I surround myself with has to know about what my family went through. So it's important for that to happen, as well as on the education side, like I mentioned. It should be really important that it's included in the Canadian education system as well.
Husband Daniel Brown, he was involved he was first response in 1985, recovering of the bodies. He thought it was going to do like a recovery mission, but it ended up being like taking the bodies out of the water. I'm 10 years younger than Danny, so I didn't meet him until like 1996. But one of the first things he told me was about that day, and it's had an impact for the last 25 years we've been married. He's had to go for counselling, and but he's doing good. Is good now.
Today we all are here for memorial and vigil of 40th anniversary of Air India Kanishka bomb blast. We extremely reject and condemn the act of terrorism. The world needs peace, and for humanity, we all are standing together, united for the solidarity of humanity. Once again, thanks to everyone for coming here for the memorial and vigil of 40th anniversary of our victims, Air India Kanishka bomb blast. Murari Lal Taplial from Brampton.
So I was 10 and I lost my mom, my brother and sister in the Air India bombing, and it's affected me and my family a great deal. Like, I've lost my childhood, I've lost my adulthood, because it has impacted us a lot. And it's just, I feel like you can never get them back and you can never move forward. It's like you're stuck in this part of your life that will never move forward. And now that it happened again recently with the other Air India, it brings back so many memories. And it just makes us think about our childhood again and growing up with them, without them. It's just very hard to deal with. And seeing everybody here today means a world to us. Like, the support we've gotten in the last week or two since the last incident, it's phenomenal. Like, the support here today, seeing everybody here is great. I don't think we'll ever get justice, to be honest. I don't think we will ever get justice. And I don't think we're ever going to get the straight answers that we deserve. We deserve answers. I don't think we'll ever get them. And you know what? At this point in time, even if you do give us answers or give us justice, it's never going to bring them back. So at this point, it's like we take what we can and just move on from it. Because right now, justice will never be served. You can't bring them back. Communication was very lacked. We did not get communication at all. When they were doing the investigation, they didn't communicate with us. When they got updates, we never got communication. So we will never know exactly what happened that day, because they are not being straightforward. They're not giving us the answers we need or deserve. And at this point, what are you gonna tell us? There's nothing you could tell us now. We will always not get the answers we want. We'll never get justice, and it'll never bring our loved ones back.
I'm honored to come tonight where we're paying tribute to the victims who perished in the terrorist attack 40 years ago. And it's hard to believe it was 40 years ago, but it's a lovely event and where people are coming out so that we can remember the victims. And that is so critically important, that the victims from all faiths be remembered tonight. And so we have a beautiful memorial garden here. And it's important that at least once a year we come out and we pay tribute to those who were lost in this terrorist bombing of Air India 40 years ago. Yes, I realize that many of the families believe that there hasn't been justice, and we are all calling for justice to be done. This is the right thing to do, to have a full investigation and justice be done.
My husband, K. Lakshmanan, and my daughter Preeti, who was 7 at that time, they both were on the flight, and so was his wife Vijaya. And it's a 40 long years. Any which way, the government, the agencies who were supposed to protect us and care for us failed us, and we are still without justice. So that's very difficult after a mass murder like this. At that time in '85, it was the worst aviation terrorism act that was perpetrated in Canada against Canadians, and we still don't have justice after 40 years. So that is very disappointing and discouraging, and we are hoping that there will be some closure for us sometimes. At this point of time, after 40 years, I don't know what, I was given to understand there is that investigation, the department is still active. I don't know what they are trying to find after 40 years that they did not get all these years. I don't see, to tell you the truth, unfortunately, I don't see that we will ever get justice. And it's upsetting that the perpetrators are still walking free. And we are the victims, and we are the ones suffering the pain day in, day out after all these years. So it's never ending, and we are paying the price for that.
I'm James Maloney. I'm the Member of Parliament for Etobicoke Lakeshore, and I'm standing at the memorial for Air India Flight 182. We're here because it's the 40th anniversary of this Canadian tragedy. And I'm here, as I've been here every year for the past 10 years, so we can cherish the memories and the families of the lives we lost on that fateful day, because this truly is a dark day in Canadian history. And we need to do everything we can as a government and as people to support the family members and their survivors to make sure the memories of those people who died that fateful day are cherished in the way that they should be.
Yeah, so we were living in Saskatoon, Canada at the time, and my two older sisters were going to India to my uncle's wedding. And so they were Chandra, she was 21 years old, a third-year pharmacy student, and my other sister was Manju, 19. She was actually already a second-year medical student. So they were on their way to India for my uncle's wedding when, unfortunately, they were on flight Air India 182, which was bombed on June 23rd. Well, it's been a very difficult 40 years because there was a lot of mistakes that were made pre-bombing. Our security intelligence agencies and law enforcement agencies should have prevented this from happening. The day of the bombing, there was many mistakes between the bags being checked in, the X-ray machines not working, the bomb sniffing machines not working, and the dog was not actually there. And then there's lots of mistakes in the actual investigation because I don't think Canada really took it seriously from an investigative point of view, and actually nobody other than the Irish took it seriously. So there was tons of mistakes, and then when we did finally have a trial, a lot of evidence was thrown out and was deemed non-admissible by the judge. And so justice has not been carried in this case. The people that are responsible for this have truly not been held accountable for what they have done. They've murdered 331 victims. They walk around freely. They celebrate birthdays, they celebrate anniversaries. Well, none of us as victims can do that. So it's very troubling that they walk around completely free. And the people that are accountable for this have not been held accountable. They did the worst mass murder in Canadian history, and they have not been held accountable. Well, both can do quite a bit. Just to start with the provincial government, one of the things that we're pushing for from a family's point of view is education. Nobody in Canada knows about this. As the Angus Reid survey mentioned, 60% of Canadians under the age of 34, 18 to 34, have never even heard of the Air India tragedy. So I think on the provincial side, that is something really important that they need to do, is get this into the educational system. I have 3 children. None of them, as they went through high school, had 1 minute of education on Air India, the largest mass murder in Canadian history. So that's one example what can be done at a provincial level. On a federal level, obviously security is at the provincial level. We have to stop people that are parading around with extremist views, with terrorist views, and politicians going to these events that show the images of the masterminds of the bombing, and they go, and these are all parties, are going and supporting them. We need to kind of stop that, stop this extremism, and make sure, we have to balance obviously free speech, but I think we have to stop that. And on the other piece I think the federally we can do is we need to put this into the Canadian psyche, and another way to do that is by memorials in our museums. There's nothing in any of our museums. This is a national museum. We've been as a family, been working on getting the wreckage displayed in one of the museums, and we're hoping that will be at least a start to that. Another idea that has come up is having a heritage minute about the Air India bombing. So those are a few examples from both the federal and provincial levels.
My older brother was on the flight, traveling to India for summer vacation, and he was only 17 years old. His life was cut short, very short. It's frustrating, it's disheartening, but all we can do is remember and hope that Canadians and everyone else in the world never forgets them. With that respect, there are others that have tried before me. There's a lot that can be done, but there's no right or wrong or what can be done that's going to actually bring peace to the families. It's been 40 years. Hopefully something will happen soon.
It was only my younger sister. She was on the flight. But there's only one question I have to ask. What was gained by it? Anything achieved? That's my main question to the folks who did it. I understand they are going to be looking more deeply into it right now. So let's hope something comes up. It will be nice to have, as they said, because it's it's Air India, but it's a Canadian tragedy, and as all tragedies are taught to the youngsters, what they said today, that's a good idea that students should be taught.
There is a memorial garden in County Cork with a beautiful sundial and the words "Time flies, suns rise and shadows fall, let it pass by, love reigns forever over all." So the people of Cork and the people of Ireland and Canada and India are very much connected in this tragedy. It was very humbling and inspiring to hear of the kindness that the families found when they went to Cork and the kindness that was shown to them. And it is, as I said in my remarks, loss and sadness come to us all, but love and compassion and hope unite us all. Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to say what should be done in Canada. I'm very grateful for the efforts in Ireland. Our Taoiseach, our Prime Minister, went to a memorial service today. I'm very grateful to all of the families and friends who keep the memories of this appalling tragedy alive and allow us to be here today together to remember and to hopefully offer some comfort and support to those who have lost loved ones.
All the families have helped themselves through these 40 years. In the beginning, we didn't get much help from any level of the government of any type, legal, emotional, or even information. Out of necessity, families helped themselves, and we made an informal association of the families, which has kept together. We come from different backgrounds, different languages, different professions, but we have helped each other through all these times. Now, 40 years later, we have cried enough. Our tears are dried most of the time, and our biggest wish, prayer, or hope is that nobody else suffers what we have suffered. We would like to continue working with the general public and politicians of all states at all levels to help in that effort.
It was my father who was on the flight, and he was a teacher here. But he was going back home because his father had died in December, and my uncle had died in March. So he was going after that, and my mom was in India as well. So he was going to go for that, and also to bring my mom with him back to Canada. So that's how we ended up on the flight. But also my sister was supposed to be on the same flight, but that plan changed at the last minute. So that's how she didn't go with him. So it's been 40 years. It's been 40 years. My father was, as a teacher, he was teaching English, science, math, economics, because he's done a lot of education in different fields, and he was a wrestler as well. So during break time or lunch time, he used to teach his students wrestling, how to play badminton, how to play tennis. Also, he told us that when he retired, he wanted to be Ayurveda. He wanted to open an ashram because he has done Ayurveda as well. So his dream was to open an ashram and treat people in a natural way. Obviously, it never happened. So all his dreams and aspirations are gone. My kids, they don't know him because they never got to meet him. The memory and the grief is still very raw and alive in our heart and in our mind. There's not a day that we don't think about him, My mom is still with us. She grieves every day. She cries in her room at night because she doesn't want us to see how she's affected by this tragedy. Um, and I feel that, you know, my kids should have had a chance to get to know him, what he was like, what he could have taught them. That part is very much, you know, something that we regret. Um, we're looking for a closure. You know, we want Indian government to help us keep the wreckage of the plane here, so we can use the wreckage of the plane for exhibits, to teach people about terrorism and the effect of terrorism, how it not only kills the people that in the tragedy, but also the family that are left behind. They suffer for years. And that suffering has not stopped yet because we still don't have any closure yet. The justice has not been served yet. So that we want public education. We want people to know that terrorism it does not accomplish anything. You know, communication is so important. If people have any issues, sort it out. My father had nothing to do with what happened in India. He was a Canadian citizen. He had no idea that when he was getting on that flight that this is what was going to happen. So innocent people were murdered, and what was accomplished? So there are a lot of questions, a lot of unresolved issues that we're still struggling with.
We've gathered today to mark 40 years since the bombing of Air India Kanishka Flight 182, an act of terror that claimed 329 innocent lives, including 268 Canadians. Entire families were wiped out, and among these victims, more than 80 were children. I stand today on this solemn day in grief, in unison, and in contemplation. I bow to the families of the victims for your grit, resolve, and perseverance. It is you, and only you, who have kept this flame alive, this quest for justice ongoing for 40 years. I, and for that matter, no one else, can fully comprehend the sense of your loss. Yet, we are here to tell you that your loved ones are not forgotten. For you, the grief has been lifelong, and yet, even after 4 decades, justice continues to elude them. Several inquiries, commissions, and judicial reports have amply identified the perpetrators. Yet, various elements continue to obfuscate it. What is even more troubling is that the same extremist ideologies continue to plague our societies even today. We all must use this tragedy as a continuous reminder of the threat of terrorism and extremism. This morning, there was a memorial held at Akahista Memorial in County Cork, Ireland. Government of India sent a 7-member strong delegation led by our Minister of Natural Resources and Petroleum, Hardeep Singh Puri. The memorial was also attended by the Prime Minister of Ireland and the Minister of Public Safety of Canada, a fitting gesture of shared grief and shared resolve. India stands in full solidarity with the victims' families. Let this day remind us that the remembrance is not passive, it is active. We honor the victims not just by remembering them, but by demanding a world where no community must live in the shadow of terror. May their memories guide us, may their legacy strengthen us, and may justice, however delayed, never again be denied. Thank you for inviting me.
This tree represents how far we've come from that day. When I stood here, when I was 20 years old, we were told, we will bring you justice. We will fix this. And we're standing here 40 years later with none of those promises being kept. We would not have made it here so far for 40 years if it wasn't for the help and support that people like my friends and family who are here today and the other family members who are here today who supported each other through an awful 40 years. You know, everybody says, we hope you find some peace. There is no peace without justice. There's no peace when you know that these things that led to the Air India bombing continue today to other people. We're continuing to replicate the tragedy. To the RCMP, I did not appreciate finding out that you knew who Mr. X was and you announced it on the eve of the 40th anniversary. You need to do better. And please stop telling me that you're continuing an investigation that has had very few results in the last little while. So I appreciate you showing up, but I hope you will take this as a call to action to change the way you've been participating in this process so far. To the politicians, I've heard the same speeches year after year after year. I would like to say this is a call to action to you to change. You and your government have the ability to actually change the education system so that you educate the next generation, to make them aware of it, so that the misinformation that proliferates does not continue. So please take this as a call to action for all of you who've shown up to not just remember, we will never forget, but it is more than remembrance that's required out of this country. Ireland remembers, they educate, they honor, they do us right. Our own country that we've dedicated ourselves to, built our lives on, have contributed greatly to its betterment, has failed us. So I would say, thank you very much for showing up, but please use this occasion to go home and talk to your kids, talk to your family, talk to your friends, go talk to your church, make them do a moment of silence. Don't let us stand alone. There were hundreds of people here when I was 20 years old. Look at how many people are left. My father died in 2005. And when I went through his wallet, guess what there was? A passport photo of my brother that he'd been carrying around for all that time, every day since my brother died. That is what grief looks like. That is the consequence of your inaction. And it's time to start acting, not just remembering, but acting, making good on your promises when you come here and tell us you stand with us. I want you to act. So please, thank you for coming. Thank you for remembering. And please use this as a call for action. And thank you, Ireland, because without you, we would have nowhere to really feel a little bit of peace.